We believe all has been put in place to ensure that it's a blessing and not a curse, like it has been to some countries. But also we must know that justice must prevail. Much as we are looking at economic benefits, we must also look at other areas of quotation that have been put in place. So for me, I'm excited. I want that pipeline should have been finished yesterday, according to what I believe, because much as the Mollens of this world are looking at phasing out fossil fuels, for us who have just entered the disco club, let us enjoy, let us dance and enjoy our music, because here we are. But also, away from the oil pipeline, well, Ministry of Education and Sports issued a circular warning schools that had called upon parents to come and pick their children, non-candidates, that is the primary schools, non-candidates, that come and pick them, so that we leave room for P7 to sit for their final exams on the national calendar. So the ministry is saying this should not continue. Leave all children at school. Reason being, we have Ebola. You're coming, picking. These are boarding schools. You could bring problems even to the candidates. And this, so let the school, let them know that all are there. They close at once. PLA is just 2 days. But for the day schools, they have told them, yes, the day scholars can remain home as the candidates are sitting for their exams. Those are primary schools that run maybe pre-primary up to P7. So if it's a day school, yes, the rest can stay home and the candidates have only 2 days. Now, I don't see, and the ministry doesn't see reason why you should tell parents, before we close, come and take your children because of these 2 days. Yet we know we want to limit movement in and out of school as regulations. So that is, dear parents, if you get that, please, the Ministry of Education and Sports is against it. And school proprietors, head teachers, this is not healthy at such a time, according to the Mother Ministry.
Well, honestly, Robert, I think that is a very good move from ministry, because a lot of us had already started getting notifications from schools to be able to pick some of these pupils before the examinations for PLE. And I think that if the schools think that there will be a lot of confusion to interfere with the candidates, they'd rather tell these, especially boarding kids, to stay in the dormitories if they don't want them around the compound. And maybe that will save a lot instead of sending them back. I do think that is a good move. And of course, we do hope that parents adhere to that. Felix Nkunda, good morning this morning, and I can see you vibrant, bringing up the mood for Wednesday. What's up?
How do they answer? What's up? that used to bring lots of controversies at school. Yeah. But at least I remember when somebody said, what's up, you say, nothing much. Isn't it?
The whole reason is what is making you vibrant this morning? What is bringing on the unusual vibe?
Well, probably it's because it's midweek. Yeah. And lots of things are happening. The expectation is that we're fast tracking towards the end of the week, and definitely closer to the end of the year, being now that we are in November. One of those months where there's a lot of activism, and majorly for us men, we have a lot of requirements to assist our darlings, who are the women, in who are struggling. Some of us who have spouses, friends, family members, mothers who are struggling with cancer. We must cause awareness. So sometimes we wake up to never forget to send such a message that some people have made it out. Our duty is to encourage and encourage. But far from that, Wednesday is also one day we assume is midweek. Now midweek is basically a sign that you're almost there to the end of the week. Yeah. So probably that's what brings a bit of excitement. But also in Kampala, there's more threat of this thing they call Ebola. And clearly the reports that's coming out is that Kampala dwellers are not doing enough to avoid the spread of Ebola. So we must up our game, Mollen and Robert. We must continue to tell Kampala dwellers, business communities, we need to see more washing facilities around town, around buildings. But also on top of that, we must avoid contact of people in this city. Let's avoid congestion. Let's avoid congestion. But I don't know why, for some reason, the people who continue to spread this Ebola virus are the people who are escaping
Yeah.
You know, people, they know they are contacts, they know, and they keep on escaping. I don't know, and that's the biggest plight lately. I don't know what we'll do for such kind of people, but away from that,
if they heal, I think they should be prosecuted in case you recover and you don't die, because the good thing is most of the escapees end up dying. Those that are in contact with someone and then they run because of fear of isolation, 21 days, and they believe, of course, not every contact tests positive, that we must agree. So there are those that are contacts and they never acquired the disease, but there are those also that are contacts and acquired the disease. Now, the good thing is most of those that have ended up showing symptoms, and when you reach that level of showing serious symptoms of Ebola, then your chances of survival are very few. But the bad thing is, still, even if they die, they have passed on the disease to other people.
Yeah.
So I think it is wiser, it is sensible, when you are a contact person, it's very inconveniencing, but it is saving your life and the lives of many, many people.
But also, probably also, if I'm to add on to what Robert is saying, is that even yesterday we did see the Minister of Health did flag off a couple of people who had recovered from Ebola. So they hope, there's hope, in as much as we have lost more people. I think yesterday we did lose another 6 people from what reports that did come in. But at least we know for a fact also people did cure from Ebola virus. If they actually manage to go and get treatment much early or timely, we must focus on that. That we must also preach out to the people to know that this is something that is treatable.
Yeah. And of course, now the numbers are speaking to that, especially with the numbers that have recovered. And I think that's a very good move. But also, Honorable Minister General Cheng did mention that the youth are actually among the huge numbers that are getting infected by this disease. And of course, she also added that that could be attributed to the behaviors of the youth. They are stubborn, they are not listening. And of course, now that when it comes to Kampala being on alert, you can imagine, because this is almost the bigger population in Kampala, and I'm thinking, okay, we really need to listen, and of course we do not want anyone getting sick, so it is actually better that you adhere to what ministry is saying, and of course look at some of the people who are really suffering from Ebola. It is not anywhere close to something you'd want yourself to get sick of, and that is something that we are now also continuing to pass on the same message from ministry and to you, saying that please be alert, Ebola is on the rise. Well, a lot is happening across the country, and of course we'll be taking you through some of the news that did make it to the headlines, and of course both locally and internationally. We'll start off locally. Robert, what do we have?
It is Parliament returning from recess after a 1 month of recess, as members of Parliament were in their various constituencies looking at the progress of the parish development model. Parliament wants a comprehensive report on the resource utilization by Uganda Police Force as per the budget allocation. This follows a series of queries on Uganda Police Force over increasing criminality in the country, the recent being an attack on the police station in Rusika found in Luwero district. Parliament was returning from recess of 1 month. The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Amongi, chaired the session of Parliament after a long recess where members had been tasked to monitor the operation of the parish development model in their respective constituencies. Speaker Anita Amongi informed MPs of 2 bills which were returned to Parliament by President Yoweri Museveni, including the Parliamentary Pensions Amendment Bill 2022 and the Public Health Management Bill 2022, respectively.
The Uganda Police Force is investigating an unknown assailants who attacked the Busika police station and killed 2 police officers on the 31st of November. The station is located at a busy spot where many locals were present at the time the police post was attacked. Eyewitnesses said the attackers masked their faces during the attack, while police preliminary findings indicate the assailants were 7. Police calls for calm among the local communities as it handles the matter. 2 guns belonging to the officers were taken by the assailants, but nothing was taken from the neighborhood. At least 4 police posts have been attacked since the year began. 6 police officers killed, guns robbed in a similar manner. The attackers are contributed to the Uganda Coalition for Change rebel groups, whose ring leader Simogere Frank David was charged in the General Court Martial.
And moving on, business in Kampala Center is normal, although operations seem fraught over the Ebola prevention measures. Although the deadly Ebola virus disease is in Kampala district, looking at Nakasero market, hand washing machine was in place, although people are still reluctant to wear masks. Enforcement for the public also seemed reluctant. Well, at the old taxi park, enforcement team was encouraging the people to wash their hands before accessing the park. They urged government to provide them with face masks to be able to prevent the spread of the virus. At the main business center, commonly known as Kirabo, hand washing equipment was there but unutilized by the public. Wearing of face masks in the business center seems to have stopped as business seems usual despite escalating cases of Ebola disease.
Education institutions have been urged to pursue the school calendar until cabinet guides on schools in the situation where there is an increase in Ebola cases in Kampala City and suburbs. The State Minister for Higher Education, John Chrysostom also urged schools heads to adhere to guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health in preventing the spread of Ebola. Schools in Kampala and the suburbs have tightened up measures to reduce spread of the virus among learners. Now they say they do not want to see school closed again as a result of Ebola because the COVID-19 lockdown affected their operations and performance of learners. State Minister for Higher Education, John Chrysostom also did urge schools and learners not to panic because closing schools or cutting the term short unless it is a cabinet decision. Visiting day were suspended as per the Ministry of Education circular, and school heads need to comply to the above.
Now, crossing over onto the international scene, former Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is on course for victory in Tuesday's election, according to exit polls. The polls, which forecast the outcome before official results, give his right-wing bloc a slim majority of seats over his opponents. Now, such a result would mark a dramatic comeback for Mr. Netanyahu, toppled last year after 12 straight years in power. "We are close to victory," he said and told his reporters in Jerusalem. The election was widely seen as a vote for or against Mr. Netanyahu's return. Official results, which could still produce a different outcome, are expected in the coming hours, and his main rival, current Prime Minister Yair Lapid, said nothing was yet decided. But as of the polls, and as they were announced at 2000 GMT, upbeat music burst from loudspeakers at central venue of Mr. Netanyahu's Likud party in Jerusalem. In more news, Elon Musk has said Twitter will charge $8, equivalent to €7 monthly, to Twitter users who want a blue tick by their name indicated as a verified account. As part of the changes after a $44 billion takeover of social media sites, Mr. Musk said it was essential to defeat scam. A blue tick mark next to a username, normally for high-profile figures, is currently free, and the move could make it harder to identify reliable sources, says critics. Mr. Musk, the world's richest man, added that paid users would have priority in replies and searches and half as many advertisements. Now, power to the people, blue for $8 per month, the billionaire said on Twitter, criticizing the old method of the blue tick verification as a lords and peasants system. Twitter's former method of verifying users for a blue tick included a short online application form and was reserved for those whose identities were targets for impersonation, such as celebrities, politicians, and journalists.
We're now back to Africa, where we're looking at Ethiopia's Prime Minister. Abiy Ahmed says there is a heavy foreign interference in the continuing talks between the government and the Tigray administration, but remains hopeful that a peace pact will be reached. Speaking to China's global television, Mr. Abiy said Ethiopia can solve their matters despite international pressure for ceasefire. He also confirmed the Federal Army captured the Tigray's town of Shia Aksum and Adwa last month from the rebels, Tigray People's Defense Liberation Front. The North spokesperson for the African Union Commission, Chairperson Musa Faki Mahat, on Monday said there was no debt imitation on the talks, according to the AFP.
And in Northern Climate News, an Egyptian resort town will begin hosting a massive annual United Nations climate meeting on Sunday, but will take place where real action can be taken on fixing the planet, or will it be a distressing example of international greenwashing that makes little serious progress? It depends on who you ask. President Joe Biden will be attending what's known as COP27 for at least a day. The White House says he will be there and build on a significant work that the United States has undertaken to advance the global climate fight. But Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg counts herself among the gathering's critics. Speaking in London at release of her book, The Climate Book, the 19-year-old, who has gained global fame for her efforts to fight climate change, said the meetings are mostly a chance for leaders and people in power to get attention using many different kinds of greenwashing. Well, quite a lot of critics, if you ask me, coming through and of course headed towards mostly the leaders and politicians that are going to be in COP27. But also a similar kind of discussion was going on in social media, where we saw some people question these climate activists and their intentions. Now, for example, the allegation is that Ugandan climate activists, especially most of these young people that we have seen go out there and talk about climate change, would prefer to go to international media to be featured on the CNNs, whatever international media, than reaching out to the local media. The big question is, do they represent Uganda, for example, like they say they do, if they are not willing to come to local media, but they would rather talk about problems of Uganda on an international media channel? Does that even make sense? That is still a big discussion. But Felix, what do you think about that? Do we say that they're actually representing us if they're telling all these issues about climate somewhere else in the world?
Well, it all depends on where we fall. Sometimes the most known argument is that you must fall within the game changers, not the guys at the tail of these discussions. That will qualify what you say, whether it's relevant or not. So the big question is, where do your representatives fall?
But also when you're giving that issue, who is supposed to act? Who is your audience? Because you're probably telling politicians to do something, or you're telling locals to do something to change climate change. But these people are not watching where you are, where you're saying this message from.
You see?
Maybe I just want to be a bit different from my brother's perspective. One of the things I've seen these days is what's happening in the NGO world happens to be issues of donors. That you start up something, then you're going to get donors, then you have a budget, then you have an office, then you move on. That is why, Mollen, you're right, when you say these people, there's so much that is happening here in Uganda. You have parliament, you have the powers that be that need to speak to them, but then you fly and go overseas, you know, because there, you know, at this international workshop, you make very good noise. Next time for another workshop, you're going to have a ticket, you're going to have a per diem, you're going to make connections, you're coming back with better funding. I've seen so much of this in the NGO world that people will go to some TV station that they even know has no viewership, but because they know they're going to get a link and send to their donors that you on TV. Now, the audience they are speaking to is not viewing their target audience, where the project is or something like that, but the donor is being made happy. So non-government organizations, civil society organizations have done us a disservice because they're enriching themselves at the expense of the problems of the people they would be helping. You're not coming on UBC, you're not going to these communities, but you're talking about such a swamp, such things happening in our country, because you know those platforms come with a lot of benefits contrary to what is here.
Yeah, but well, that makes sense. And of course, you also look at the fact that maybe most of these activists, the 19-year-old graders and you know, those figures, maybe they have not also had trust locally. And you know, journalism is a two-way. You have to trust your source, and they also have to trust that you air out their message. Maybe some people are not giving them the ear that they need, and maybe that's why they are seeking for other means. But it should all be for the same cause, and making sure that we heal our planet and keep our lives safe. And of course, on the similar note, we know that something for your health is worth investing in, which is why we come to you every morning to give you advice on what is the best product that you can take. Robert.
Award-winning drinks are what I'm holding. Hallelujah Jinga tea, Hallelujah Tamari drink. These drinks boost your immune system. They are very tasty, I must tell you, and of course you'll enjoy them. So you're having so many benefits. You're getting a drink is non-alcoholic, so any faith, any denomination and religion can take them, but also they're tasty, and above all, they boost your immune system. Your body does not need everything. It needs something that has health benefits to it. Just 1,500 of these 3 bottles. Hallelujah Jinga tea, Hallelujah Tamarind drink, Hallelujah Banana fruit juice. They are great boosters. Just try it out today. I guarantee you, you'll enjoy the enormous benefits.
Absolutely, and of course, do make sure that you get any of those nearest your closest outlets, and of course, keep yourself really, really in good shape. Well, it's a Wednesday. Of course, we do come to you with angelic voices and an inspiration song to, you know, get you started, boost up your vibe, and of course, make sure that, well, you look at it as midweek, not Monday, because we are past that. But also, when we come back, we'll be diving into our topical discussion for this morning. We look into more crimes happening, and is police really equipped to handle this? What is Parliament doing? But also, as a citizen of Uganda, what can you do to help in this whole fight against crime and make sure that everyone in this country is safe? We'll be diving into that discussion after this break.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
New York, please sing along.
If you go around crushing on a woman, that might result into you being asked to give a little bit of money. Maybe that's where the problem is, but we are aware that it's beginning of month. A bit of money is in the pockets. So ladies, go ahead. If someone is putting you across as a Woman Crush Wednesday, it better have something answerable to that. Obviously, we want to welcome you, and of course we have a lot going on across the country, and very exciting stories, sad stories as well. We still have an alert for Ebola. Of course, right now, Ministry of Health is calling upon the public everywhere. It looks like no one is safe. We all have to adhere to the guidelines and of course the standard operating procedures that have been given out by Ministry of Health to make sure that we stop the spread of Ebola. And of course, for those who have been in contact with Ebola patients, you should not be moving around to make sure that we avoid also getting huge numbers in terms of contacts. But also a lot of development when it comes to justice. Now the East African Court of Appeal looks like it's now going to be up and about, obviously after its establishment 21 years ago. Now it is set to have its first sessions in Kampala. And of course, among the key factors that will be looked at first is the Ugandan Tanzanian oil pipeline. Well, that's a very exciting topic for Uganda, and I know that this is going to be an interesting one, but also it will be good to see the East African Court of Justice in play, especially about economic issues that do affect the entire region as well, but also in terms of development. And of course, I do have today with me gentlemen, Robert and Felix. Also, I don't know how they feel about the Ugandan and Tanzanian oil pipeline, but at least some of the issues that have been raised across the East African community seem to be like they are now going to be handled, and of course we can be at peace knowing that the project is running smoothly. And let me welcome Robert first. Robert, very good morning.
A lovely morning to you, Mollen. I hope you're fine. By your looks, definitely you look very, very fine.
Absolutely.
And of course, Comrade Nkunda, and above all, our viewers, because you're the reason we wake up every day, to come and ensure that we give you the relevant information that you need as you kickstart your day, but also spice up your mornings. We know sometimes the nights could have been hard, so much on your mind, but hey, this is a new day. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Now, when you talk about the East Africa crude oil pipeline, to me, I pray that this goes on very well, so that by 2025, the hope of many Ugandans is seen, and we live to enjoy the fruits of oil. We believe all has been put in place to ensure that it's a blessing and not a curse, like it has been to some countries. But also we must know that justice must prevail. Much as we are looking at economic benefits, we must also look at other areas of contention that have been put in place. So for me, I'm excited. I want that pipeline should have been finished yesterday, according to what I believe, because much as the Mollens of this world are looking at phasing out fossil fuels, for us who have just entered the disco club, let us enjoy, let us dance and enjoy our music, because here we are. But also, away from the oil pipeline, well, Ministry of Education and Sports issued a circular warning schools.
Super easy. Logical, deeper conversation.
How many teachers in Uganda did you consult? But there's a mistake we are making.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Which is good. We went to this school, we ran it to Western, we ran it to Northern, we ran, then you come.
Isn't that an achievement?
Objective and non-partisan.
Honorable Minister, there were a number of points. I want to start with you.
Straight from the hearts of open-minded men and women.
Money tends to move faster at night. So when people are not counting,
Don't take it for granted.
Candid and authentic.
Because Uganda is not Thailand.
That's not correct, and we should stop that kind of mentality.
So what I'm saying
That's
is
a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Giving them from Minister of Finance.
Your fountain of new knowledge, flowing into the mass body of knowledge.
First get the knowledge of Bukedia, how they want to be modernized.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
you return money to the treasury, which is meant for the people.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
That's right. The Voice is coming to a city near you. From the 21st of October to the 10th of November, you get a chance to showcase your talent. Prepare a 1-minute MP4 video of yourself singing and upload it to thevoice.africa to register. Make sure you have a valid Airtel number, and if you're shortlisted, you will be contacted to come in for the live auditions.
Well, don't just stand there, let's go!
Music your passion, Africa your stage. The Voice Africa, connected by Airtel.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it is Good Morning Uganda, and of course we're coming to you live from UBC Auditorium. Well, a topic this morning, we are looking at keeping law and order. And of course, with the task body of the Uganda Police being at the forefront of that, we also want to look at how are the implications of what could be against law and order. And of course, recently we've had a rise in crimes And of course, police continuing to do its investigations to ascertain what could be related to this. Now, you also look at in Busika, the incidents that happened on the 31st of last month. And of course, with 4 police stations that have been attacked and known assailants, that is about 7 people that were identified by the eyewitnesses, and saying that this could be part of a rebel group. And of course, now, police continues with its job and getting suspects in that regard. But also you look at the fact that they did take away 2 guns from a police station. That means that you're having increased numbers of, you know, armed power or guns in communities or towards these rebel groups. Now, on the similar note, Parliament has tasked government to also look into how they are mobilizing resources towards reinforcing police. And of course, that will also prompt a review into the budgetary allocations towards police. And how is that helping? Are they equipped enough to fight this kind of crime? And of course, also, how is the security at most of these police stations? How can we make sure that we do avoid such attacks? You have rebel groups that come into police stations, well knowing that these are people who could be armed, but that doesn't stop them. They still attack. And does that speak a lot to the manpower on most of these police stations? Now, government has to come in and make sure that our policemen and women are able to also protect communities, where we are also asking you as a Ugandan, you have to be involved to make sure that you're vigilant, make sure that if you do see anything or anyone out of the ordinary that could be related to these rebel groups or attackers, you are able to at least notify police. And gentlemen, this is a very, very intuitive topic, especially talking about police and, of course, community vigilance. And this is where I want to bring you in, Robert. Do you think that we've done enough as Ugandans to support police, or are we always on the blame side on whatever happens, but it takes them being attacked for us to see that they are also actually not safe out there, even when they have guns? Are we doing our role as Ugandans to be vigilant and also to assist police or help police to be able to help us, like they always say?
Well, first I want to pray for the families of the deceased. That is the family of the late David Ongom, who was the OCCID Busika police station. I also want to pray for the family of pray for the family of Bagaruka Alex. That was the OCCID. May the good Lord strengthen them. Also, Angola Moses, also a police officer, was shot at, and so these 2 died instantly. But also we have Ochom Adrian and Odama Stephen. These are nursing serious injuries, plus the family of the lady whose name I haven't been able to get. But we pray that the good Lord may strengthen them. You know, death is something that we shall all face at one time. It is normal. But how you meet death, of course, we can't say that there is any good way of meeting death, but such things are a shock. Imagine a husband leaves, goes to work on duty, and just over a sudden they have not fallen sick. So these are what I call preventable death, not natural death. Now, going back to your question, looking at how our police is prepared at such times, because it's not the first incident this year. Neither is it the second nor the third. But one thing we must also look at is crime will happen. Even in civilized communities, crime will happen, even in developed worlds. When Bin Laden hit the Twin Towers, the world was like, how could it happen? You know, United States of America, you play in their airspace, you go for the Twin. So criminality will happen. But we must understand that there are usually weak points as why these criminals will target and the areas to address. Now, when you look at this, for me, I don't want to go to the terrorism bit of it, neither these groups. That is for the investigators and whoever is responsible to handle that. But I want to look at what we are looking at as gaps. You'll find that even the current government we are proud of today, they will tell you that they had to look for a certain police station and look at certain weaknesses and exploit those. In my career as a journalist, I've spent most of my time working with police, carrying out stories that have to do with criminality, doing investigative journalism and all that. But one of the weaknesses I've seen that I think have to be dealt with is understaffing. Understaffing at police stations is working endless hours in police. That you're going to go to a police post, more so at night, or a police station, and you find 2, 4 armed personnel. You're going to go to a police station, and an officer will tell you, I've been on duty from this time up to now. They're exhausted. You're going to go to a police station, and actually when I was listening to the area member of parliament of Bamunanika County, that is Robert Sekitoreko, and you're going to find that away from minimal staff, I've said even in developed countries, crime happens. But criminals will always look for weak spots. That's why even if it is this shooting, you'll find that they have been wrecking this person until they discovered why is the weak point. Understaffing. People working endless hours. Second, let's look at the basics in terms of when this shooting happened, they were looking for a patrol. Can you imagine? And according to what they will tell you, who fueled this patrol? That even the little that they could get from the other area. So, with the modern day criminality that is coming up, one, you must have very effective mobility. That you have the vehicles, you have the motorcycles. Leave alone Kampala, here where you see a lot of patrols, where you see a lot of motorcycles. How have we empowered these people that in case of a criminality happening like this, these guys can communicate? Criminals know that it is risky because there is good mobility for the police. They'll be able to get you as soon as possible. His Excellency recommended CCTV cameras. I want to say some good work has been done. Here, which footage do we have? The Bushika, this is a developing urban kind of setting. It is a town. You know, in these rural areas, these mushrooming towns. You get it? What do we have that can aid into fighting criminality? I've seen many incidents where criminality has happened, and we are not relying on government-installed cameras because they're not there. We're relying on individuals giving us footage. So, in modern day, you need to have modern gadgets of fighting crime. Do we have them? Do we have them? When we are saying we are setting up a police post, a police station, one time I went to a police post here in Zana, but you move up here. I found this is a police post. It is put there. At night there is one policeman, but there are people they have detained in the cell. And at one time even this person was not there. So I asked myself, supposing someone came and touched these people, you're arrested in something like a booth.
Yeah.
Someone is sleeping there. There's no one watching over. So we need, much as we are talking about, how have we equipped these people? Human resource, according to national levels, it should be at least one policeman per at least 500 people.
Yes.
Our ratios are still very, very minimal. Police officer per person. You have about one policeman to about 1,000 or 1,000 people. So these are some of the challenges. Then when you go to the force, what are their priorities? What are their priorities? I want to tell you, even with little staff, I've always said this and I'll repeat saying it. I don't understand the criteria of deployment of Uganda police. Much as some people are entitled to that. Felix has a legal fraternity. You find one person has, you find, I'm a judge, I'm what? You like, you find 4 guarding during the day, he's moving with 4. Yeah. When you look at, I want to be very honest, you will find that VIPs that have escorts in this country, VIPs, and I want to use the word VIPs, buli omwa ina mukuba buli ayagala osangulya ina patrol bili 6-6 then 6-6. Go and ask a sub-county. Go and ask a sub-county how many police officers are deployed here.
Yeah.
One time, one of our dailies came out with a very good investigative story. It would show you how maybe people are just guarding heads of some parastatals are much more in number than officers in a particular parish. Yeah. So these are some of the areas. Then how have you positioned? Because two things work together. A police station and CCTV cameras. We have what we call fitting in one another. That if you're having a police station here, how many kilometers are there to our next police station? That in case a robbery has taken place here, or a break has taken place here, when these people call, they're not expecting backup from 1,000 kilometers away. That they can easily find a way of how they fit in. That if you have a CCTV camera here, this one captures, but there's another one supporting this, that you can follow events. That if someone robbed from the gate and entered UBC, you don't say that the camera at the gate, after it covered, at this particular space we don't have any other camera. We next have in studios. That this one feeds into the other for proper investigation and assessment. So much as we look at police being able to fight criminality or avoiding of some of these criminalities, there are weak points that are making fertile grounds for such criminalities to happen. Much as even in developed worlds they have criminalities, this also can happen, but we must zip up these gaps.
Well, indeed, and of course that you do bring out good points, obviously, especially with what we've done so far. And of course, now this is where I want to bring in Felix. Robert talks about, the CCTV, talking about human resource as well, how, staffed is the police force really in terms of making sure that they're able to reach communities, and at the community level, they're able to give that kind of protection. But also you look into the fact that Parliament, during its most recent sitting, they have asked for a very detailed report on the resource utilization that is in line with the budget allocation to the Uganda police. Now, we also wonder, is government really giving the police enough resources, or are they giving them enough support to be able to still be in communities and still tend to national issues like Robert did bring out guarding and all that? Is government doing its part in making sure that police is well equipped?
Well, keeping my mind alive to the fact that the events that did happen are quite gruesome and regrettable, as a matter of fact, and the same, I would want to add my voice to the same of my earlier colleague's submission, that we do condone with the families of those who lost their loved ones, and we also pray for the ones who are nursing wounds in hospitals. Many a times we have had stories of the attacks on police officers or coercive officers of the forces in various disciplines, and sometimes we look at it as something that isn't in the real time appreciation. One would ask themselves, how do people attack a station where there are guns and officers and they are able to probably come out with victory? This in its own self has caused many questions, and we have been having these discussions, not even just about this particular one, that how professional is our police? It's in this country where you find a police station or police booth or police post, and the police post has, I don't know, very weird people. Some say they are informers, some say they are crime preventers, others, very many categories. And I hear, and clearly these people, even they are brokers. At some police officers, people who broke, when you come, get out of your car, they will rush to you. Him say, what do you want us to achieve? No, come. Now, again, the professionality of our police is explosive. Like, it exposes police to some of these things. One, and I speak about this because not in the happiness of this sadness, but raising concern that we all pay attention to such a thing. If you remember when we had the bombs, I think they call them the twin blasts that happened in Kampala, one of the reasons why such things are able to happen around police stations, because of there's a lot of laxity at our stations. When you go to places like CPS here, before the bombing, it had turned out to be like a scrapyard. You know? Now, all these things are circumstantial to what happens. They limit the vigilance. You imagine a police station, every police station in this country has a scrapyard. They have cars of accidents, they have Bensons that I think are exhibits, they have desks, you find them with what. Even if people are going to protect themselves, even if the enemy was planning something, it becomes very much easy for two reasons I've given. One, they have a lot of clutter in the police stations. People who are not police officers have the information of what's happening there. They listen to you, they know when who's not there, who this will not be there, who will change. Who. That is one of the challenges. But secondly, I think going back to the issue of professionalism, because the officers of police dwell by far with the civilians, it compromises a lot. It does bring police into compromise a lot. Unlike our brothers and sisters who are in the army, they stay in barracks. They never interact with us unless it's really occasional. But the police officers are our neighbors, they are they're just all over. And that in its own self is compromising the force. Because if you want to go into detail and try to understand how these people know that probably there will be two people, that there are this number of guns, it's not like they use our number we use. And for me, I thought when this came out, it was a challenge to police to improve on its professionalism. One. Two, we have been talking about budgets and budgets and budgets. But the question is, and this is what the parliament asked, which makes lots of sense. How about we first revise the utilization of the funds that police is getting? What is going to what? Kirabo gave you one of the examples. How much are we spending on protecting individuals vis-a-vis what we are spending on protecting communities? Okay? Is our police a pro-people police? That's a very big question in times like this to answer. And if police is interested, it should lodge a study and a research into that question. How is the current police a pro-people police? These people who attack police, they don't come from Mars. They're from that community. And clearly some people know about such attacks even before they happen. Some people will tell you where they go, where they stay, who they are related to, who they are married to. They will tell you all these things. But if we are still having a police that is part of criminality, community, how do you think you're going to have a pro-people, you know? If when it comes to investigations, the rate of corruption, how do you think we are going to have a pro-people police? Yet it all looks like sometimes police is part of people who castigate people's peace and security. So it's for me, I think as this happens, we must also check ourselves as the institution of police. And generally, one, how do we relate with the communities? How do we respond to crime? You see, it's a win-win. One of the ways to win people's hearts as police is to be responsive. When matters happen, how does police respond? Is it an opportunity for them to eat from the community? Or is it an opportunity for them to make good the relationships? I know for a fact that the biggest people to assist to avert such kind of crime are communities. These people keep those guns somewhere someone else knows. They stay somewhere where someone knows. They are married, they eat. It's not like after that they went to the bushes. They could be around there. But how do you penetrate such circles if you think you're not a pro-people? So police has a big duty to work on its PR in terms of the image and how the wananchi perceive it. Is it for the people or not for the people. Actually, when I was listening to my friend, Fred Enanga, he said that had it not been for the community, the prospected arson would have also burnt every other thing, the evidence, the records and what. But people ran in, community ran in to put down the fire, to rush people to hospital, making alarms, calling other police. That is what we want. If we can build more human resource capital for the police, by the way, it should focus on that. These things are talking of allocation of money. You people, sometimes you're just also aids of other people's stomachs. you become, you just want to aid other people's well-being. The real facts are not, money is needed. That's a matter of fact, definitely in terms of mobility, cars and what, budgets and what. But there are things that we can start with in the now as we wait for that. And this is where I'm putting, for me, our brothers and sisters in the institution of police, that how are you working on your relationship with people? Go to the police, and it cuts across. If any of you people, you can honestly allude to what I'm saying. And you can ask this question just for the three of us here. I know you've worked with police. You have had a scenario, a situation. What was your experience? Okay? On a scale of 10, what would you rate? Were they helpful? Were they quick? Were they what? How do you rate police? Now, these are things that will make you feel compelled. People talk about intelligence. The crime that happens in our communities, people know. People always have a clue. You know, Robert talked about something that I think even off camera. We had a story I think yesterday, and people will tell you, we have been seeing this person. Do you know why they always say that after? Because they don't have trust. How do we build trust between the wananchi and police, away from having this aftermath? But that man, he came in a long jacket. Those narrations normally come after. But the reason why the people are not interested in picking, because there is no relationship. People today look at our officers as threats in terms of even theft. Like you've had stories being done in the papers. You have done lots of crime stories, Robert. But most of the gangs that rob people here have a relationship with officers. Am I lying? These are matters of fact. But
so should we be saying people are also involved? Are we aiding this as community?
Absolutely, because you see, policing, and they say the biggest police officers are the communities. Even if they want to do investigations, they'll come and ask Kirabo, "Hi, there's a man we are looking for. He has a beard. We have 3 men with a beard in this village. There's a brown one. There's one with big eyes. There's no way. The police cannot act in isolation of communities. But there is no way we are going to have this make sense if there's a big gap between the police force as it is and the communities. And this is by far, if actually not singularly brought by police officers, their way of life, their mannerisms, their high levels of corruption, and their poor response to community issues. You've had these cases where people say, but we told the police. You've had these scenarios. We told the police. We told police, and police did what?
Did not come through.
So I think for me, one of the closest answers to these questions of now, seemingly, because this is also terrorism in its own way, and the beauty is that police has come out to allude it to or attach it to another rebel group. Now, rebels operate within. You saw most of the times, in the times of Lokech, they were picking them in communities here in Namungona. Is it now up here around Chibuli? What is that? Yeah, something like that. Namuwongo. You understand? These people in communities, some of them even have businesses. I think someone had a chapati stall or something. But people know, at least out of 10 people, maybe 2 or 3 will suspect. But the question is, when people come to police, and this is what I remember one time the president was addressing something to do with security, and he said, when people come, why are you asking them all these questions? You are the officers, you are the ones who have the expertise. Someone has brought information, who told you? Where did you hear it from? Can that person come back to you?
And investigate. Go and find out this information.
We have created a big gap between communities and the police. And these things will not stop happening if we don't work on closing this gap. We need each other. This is regrettable. We don't want to get in a country where everyone is afraid of moving either day or night.
Yes. And of course, now we also look into the fact that all these issues have been put across, and of course, we'll elaborate it. And we want solutions at this point. Yes, the police has also come up to, arrest one of the ringleaders of this rebel group, Joseph Frank Semogerere, was arrested and to be charged in general court martial. But also, I think most of the issues that have been raised are also to do with community policing, like I would put it, because that relationship between the community and police is what is key right now. And of course, you look at some of those gaps, how are we going to address them? Now, with some of your messages coming through, Japhet here is saying that we should deploy police together with the army and give support to police by deploying them with the army men could help. It's one of the solutions. That's what Japhet is also saying. But Kirabo, we want to look at us as members of the community. As you conclude, what can we do to support these men and women?
I want to say, over a time, I think because we've had some relative peace for some time, many of the people, security is no longer part of them. They have totally distanced themselves with anything to do with security. They look at it as the obvious, and they have not interested themselves. But you see, a criminal-minded person has no boundaries. Today he may attack a police because they need an AK-47. Tomorrow he may be hired because he wants money to kill your husband, your wife, your daughter. So we need to go back and interest ourselves. Be criminal alert. Today you can ask a person, you've come in this room, or people have been in a taxi or at a function, who are stood next to you, and they don't know. Because of relative peace, we must go back and interest ourselves in issues of security. Criminals breed within us, plan within us, then they go and they execute their missions. But also police, you must up your game in terms of response. One suggested, I think one of our viewers who talked about deploying police as well as the army, my biggest worry would be that the army being brought into affairs and then they begin acting the way police has been sometimes act. Because there are communities, if you move, people who stay around barracks, sometimes UPDF do their patrols, but they'll move around and they go back to the barracks. You let it be around one and you meet police on their patrol. You can hardly escape them without giving a penny. So we wouldn't want our good UPDF to be brought into, they either have better training, but at the end of the day, let's empower them. Let's have modern technology. Let's have the resources they need and community. Let's interest ourselves in security. At the end of the day, now there was a civilian who had come to file a case. She lost her, she's nursing injuries. Why? So everyone must be concerned. Let's be vigilant. Times are not good. We need to be vigilant and we need to report to authorities and then hold them accountable for not taking action.
Well, vigilance is the key word here, and of course we do call upon each and every one of you to help the police to help you. If you do recognize most of these criminals in your community, be sure to reach out to the next police station, and at least we do hope that even on the side of police, let's make sure there is a response, because one of the things that is creating this huge mistrust is on the issue of response from police. But when you're able to do that, respond in time, and make sure that we take some of these cases seriously that are coming from community, we can build that trust between community and police, and we can look at better solutions in fighting crime. Now, we all want a better Uganda, and of course that is the message that we're moving across. That is it from our newsreel right now. We want to also take you through what is trending in the newspapers. Later than that, we'll also be taking you across the road, see how the traffic is like, and the weather, of course, what it is like across the country, how it will be during the day. And of course, we'll also be taking you through Good Morning Uganda agenda after that. Let's take a short break. We'll be back with what is in the print media.
Get connected today with the My Airtel 4G smartphone, the most affordable smartphone in Uganda. You get to enjoy free 1 GB for 1 whole year. My Airtel 4G smartphone, your best value for money. Visit the nearest Airtel outlet today and get one at only 250,000 Uganda shillings. Airtel, the smartphone network.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have 2 projects. 1 is for construction of my house, 2 is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here, in the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking. Our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore the Pearl of Africa.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.
Well, in the papers for this morning, let's start off with the New Vision. Security gets vital clues on Busika attack. Those are details on the page 3 of the New Vision, but also the big headline right there. Teacher upgrade. Government offers 8,000 scholarships. Move to enable teachers acquire university degrees. That is a story on page 7. Who will benefit, and of course the details of that. But also they give you a big picture right there. Chigongo endorses Museveni for 2026.
Now that is, of course, giving you some of the pictures from Haji Moses Chigongo right there as he was endorsing President Museveni. Now, Museveni rejects health parliament pensions bill. That is a detailed story on page 6, and also more to do with pass, O-level and PLE special inside the New Vision. But also on the second page, has avocado factory to employ over 200 farmers. That's a good news right there. The facts on that, opportunities in agriculture right there for you, but also more in the New Vision to do with agriculture and the fish industry right there for you.
Now in the Daily Monitor, Spy Nation, we see a claim by a group of State House contracted them to hack social media accounts of opponents of President Museveni in the run-up to the 2021 elections. Now at least 40%, a group of cybersecurity experts claim they were entered for to 40% of undisclosed sums to hack social media accounts and spies. 23 catch Ebola after exhuming a body, and drinking spiking at a new high, police says. Now lapses that aided attack on police, but also Mbara's suburbs struggle under city rapid growth. Excellent PLE, the pullouts could change your child's destiny. Now inside the Daily Monitor, Speaker Among issues strict Ebola guidelines. And today in history, Haile Selassie becomes emperor, and truck explosion kills 3,000 in Afghanistan.
Looking at the New Vision Sports, it is Matters versus SLAU Brato. Well, looking at the varsity sports, of course, talking about the University Football League, and going for the second finals, a second leg, looking at Mobs versus St. Lawrence University. Now they give you pictures right there as Bunyanga takes goal tally to 12. Now more on that in the New Vision Sport, but also inside story, your World Cup paper, giving you some of the stars that you can expect for World Cup. And of course, you know, that's going to be quite huge. And of course, UBC will be showing all those games. You can look out for that. Lubambula rallies funds to back them. Uganda versus Kenya. That is also when it comes to the Women's Rugby African Cup that will be playing today at Motesa 2 Stadium in Wankulukuku. That is one to look out for. And of course, a follow-up to see what the Lady Rugby Cranes are also giving out when it comes to that game against Kenya.
Now, Daily Monitor Sports will be looking at Band of Brothers, where we see at least 3 particular coaches that we expect to see at Qatar in the World Cup. Qatar to pay social media influencers, and still also Lady Cannon's return to winners circle. Now, SUPL Wakiso tax URA Gaddafi off the mark, and it's a do or die for Uganda and Kenya women rugby there. But commanding Slough match in 2 varsity league final, that's also something to look out for in the Daily Monitor. Andrew Gumayo happy with his progress, that is for the lovers of golf. Well, now of course we do cross over to the Daily Nation, where we'll be looking at 50 days of Ruto regime and a life of misery for Kenya poor cancer patients. Now Ahmed Disa and Kipriro in ugly court battle there, but also still in the Daily Nation. State capture, they give you a story there, and cost of living, fuel crisis, and more taxes. But of course, Ruto being on the weighing scale there after he did make the 51st day of his era in office amidst the optimism of new regime and the pregnant promises of reorganizing government do lie or loom over his head.
A lot of expectations right there from President Ruto. And of course, you look at Kenyans also weighing in on what he has done so far. Felix, what do you think he has, do you think he's meeting expectations so far? Because all the tabloids seem to be all over his achievements and what he's not doing.
I think it's too soon to tell.
Yeah.
We need to give the brother some more time. He's clearly on the track, but it's just too soon to tell.
Yeah. Surely, well, this morning we also want to take you through what is happening across the road, and of course we'll be diving into the traffic routes
Starting off with the Kampala-Jinja road, where we're looking at quite some good traffic right there. Looks like it's quite clear. If you're coming in from Nakawa, if you're coming in from Tinda, joining Kampala Road, that seems to be quite an easy route for you because we're looking at lesser traffic over there. Now also for the people joining in to Kampala Jinja Highway, that is also from Naguru Road, it looks like that road is clear for you. If you're also from the new Petbell Road towards the Kampala Road, it looks to be quite clear. Now except there is a little bit of traffic starting to build up if you're joining from the Nakawa Business Park towards Kampala Jinja Highway right there. That is where we have a little bit of traffic, especially for the people joining in into the road. But we also look at most of the joining roads towards Lugogo Mall right there. That is where we have a little bit of traffic. The red lines right there indicating a bit of traffic, that just a few kilometers, so meaning that the traffic does clear up as you join into the road. But otherwise, Kampala Jinja Highway still looks like it is quite clear. Now we also have a little bit of traffic coming through if you're from the upper side of Hasketh Bell Road and also using that detour towards the Jinja Highway. That looks to be quite a bit of traffic in orange colors right there, but also it does clear just a few kilometers. It clears into good traffic. Now over with the Kampala Highway still, Kampala Jinja Highway, you're looking at quite a little bit of traffic building up at the roundabout right there. Now if you're using Ompeo Avenue, that route seems to be quite clear. And of course into the roundabout, that is where you have a little bit of traffic, but also that has a lot to do with the fact that you have a lot of cars that are using the roundabout just to turn around. But it looks like that is what could be bringing in the traffic. But also off to the Ministry of Internal Affairs right there, the road that takes on towards Bugolobi right there, it looks to be clear for those joining the roundabout, but also leaving the roundabout. That's quite a clear road to take this morning. It's having less traffic, but as you continue into the city center, now that is where we have a little bit of traffic also building up. Now that is where we have the traffic lights. You look at the access road also joining through from Jinja Highway, but also the one that continues into the city center. And also that traffic could be attributed to the fact that we also have traffic lights right there. But also more from Access Road, that is where we have more traffic for the people coming in from Mukwano Road, the upper side of Mukwano, the 8th Street. That is where we have a little bit of traffic, especially for people coming to join into the Kampala Jinja Highway. There's going to be a little bit of traffic, so if you can avoid that route and find your way into town, that would be one to actually take. Now, as you head towards Kampala Road, traffic starts to loosen up a little bit, except for the roads that are joining in. You have Entebbe Road right there as it joins the main road. You look at a little bit of traffic joining in, building up towards that area. Now you also look at some of the roads that are quite clear. If you're joining Nile Avenue, there is a bit of traffic right from the roundabout right there. That will also be building up. So if you can avoid that route also, especially if you're coming into town, but those leaving town, it looks like it could be quite clear. Look at areas, roads joining in like Speak Road. That is also quite with a lot of traffic building up. Now the upper side of City Square as well towards Renzori Courts right there, the roundabout, there is quite some traffic in red lines right there indicating that you could actually, if you could avoid that route, upper side of Speak Road, you would be avoiding a lot of jam for you. But also the square towards that road that comes from Police right there, that is a clear road, especially for cars that are leaving the main Kampala Road. And those also joining in, it looks to be in green lines, indicating that there is quite a little bit of lesser traffic. And also you look at roads like Lumumba Avenue. If you're coming in from Bombo Road, maybe if you're to use Lumumba Avenue, that is quite clear for this morning. Also the Upper Nakasero Road seems to be quite clear in terms of traffic, so you could use that if you want to avoid the main Kampala Road. Maybe if you're headed towards the other side of Kampala Jinja Highway, those will be some of the shortcuts to take or the detours to take to make sure you avoid the traffic on the Kampala Road.
As you continue towards also heading for Bombo Road, there is quite a bit of traffic, especially in the center right there after the square. There is a bit of traffic, but then it does clear up again as you head towards Bombo Road. The people leaving town, yes, there is a bit of traffic, but that doesn't hold. It's just a few minutes and then you're away from that. And of course, that would get you off town in quite a smooth way without having to deal with much of that traffic. Now, more builds up actually as you head towards Bombo Road near Wandige roundabout, and that's understandable because you have a lot of cars that are also joining in towards the main route right there. Of course, the northern bypass where we're seeing now most cars joining in, that will bring in a little bit of traffic. But also away from that, we want to take a look at what is happening in the weather world. Now, there is still a lot of stories coming through as we prepare for COP27 rather. And of course, a lot of people now joining in towards, going for this conference. Now, it is one of the highly anticipated climate conferences that the UN has organized. And of course, this year's summit is looking at more of what should be done to make sure that the world moves away from the increasing rate in fossil fuels, but also some of the pledges that were made last year in Glasgow, Scotland. Are they going implemented now? So far, we're looking at more of these extreme weather events happening, the floods everywhere. We're looking at, heat waves. We're looking at drought cases. We're looking at, sea level rise. Now, all this is what is worrying and, of course, bringing in more of the questions that still need answers. Now, we need to be able to tell what the difference between what world leaders or policymakers are doing in combating climate change and what communities or what people on the ground want to be done. That is the kind of climate action that we're talking about. But well, just a few days before this summit in COP27, and of course, we're looking at contributions from countries. Uganda has a delegation that will be joining other climate scientists and of course world leaders in Egypt to make sure that we come up with a plan on how we reduce these emissions, especially the greenhouse gas emissions that have been the root cause of global warming. Now, the target was to reduce temperature rise to well below 2 degrees centigrade by 2030, but we're just a few years to 2030 and we're already above that level. And the question is, can we still make that target? This summit will determine whether or not we change our behaviors, whether or not we must aggressively put climate change on the political agenda. And in that case, among the top facts to be tackled on the political agenda. And this is why you see climate activists coming up and saying they are boycotting the conference, they are boycotting the summit because they don't believe that that will happen. Now, still we have good news. Some of the presidents that will be there, this morning we did confirm that President Joe Biden will be joining in the summit. We also did confirm that the Brazilian president, the newly elect, will be at the summit. And of course, we do have, the leadership from the African Union, leadership from the United Nations, who are going to be at the summit to make sure that the world is moving at the same pace. Because when we do get these extreme weather events, they are everywhere. They affect all of us equally, except where the most vulnerable communities are the worst affected because they are unable to fend for themselves. Now, that will be a lot to take in at COP27. And of course, we do expect that we will be getting more of the answers coming through as the conference starts. And of course, as UBC, we'll be giving you more of those proceedings as to when the conference starts and what will be coming up from most of those discussions. But also today we want to take a look at what is happening across the country, and of course in terms of the satellite analysis for today, we're looking at more cloudy weather starting to build up, especially for parts of the southern sector. Now, we also did have a little bit of rains earlier this morning across the islands of Lake Victoria, and of course most of those rains have also started to clear up. But we do have more of the rainy systems that are expected to build up for this morning, and we're looking at mostly of those being enhanced by the effects of Lake Victoria. That means that the Lake Victoria Basin will be having much more of those rains coming through compared to the rest of the country. Now, we still have that rainy system actually over Lake Victoria, and that seems to be headed westwards. It will be bringing us rains, especially for the western parts of Lake Victoria. That is where we have areas of Masaka right there
You can expect to have those rains in your day. And of course, that will be moving in also towards areas of southwestern Uganda. You look at Mbara right there, you can expect to have rains for this morning. It's already cloudy, and that will also mean that temperatures will be quite chilly for you. You might be in the pleasant 26 or the lower 20s for most areas around Kabale Highlands. Also right there, starting off with a mix of clouds and sunshine. We're looking at more clouds, and that is building up across midwestern Uganda. Hoima, Masindi right there. You can expect to have also a little bit of rains for this morning that will be coming your way. We have more cloudy weather developing across parts of eastern Uganda. Amuria right there, quite cloudy for this morning. Kampala as well, starting off with quite cloudy weather with intervals of sunny conditions. Now that looks like we'll be continuing with that for quite a while, but we do have rains in the forecast for most areas within the central part of Lake Victoria. We're also looking at more cloudy weather starting to build up across central northern Uganda. That is where we have Padel, Gulu right there, Arua as well. It looks like that those clouds might also be developing into a little bit of rains as the morning progresses, and more rains are expected in the afternoon. That will be for most especially the western part of the country as well as the southern sector. Otherwise, Karamoja region continues with mostly sunny weather and dry weather. That is the same across eastern Uganda. Macho Soroti this morning, Bali starting off with a lot of sun right there, and also temperatures quite warm for that area. Now similar weather also forecast across the Rwenzori area. Fort Portal, Kasese right there also starting off with quite some sunny skies, and of course that also indicates that temperatures will be quite warm for you this morning. Now the general forecast from the models is indicating that most areas will be picking up in terms of wet weather activities, especially for areas like I mentioned, the western sector. You also have areas within the Lake Victoria Basin that I expected to have most of those rains, especially for today. Now the bigger expectation for rainy weather for today is across midwestern Uganda. We're looking at Masindi, we're looking at Hoima, we're looking at Kasese. Later as you head towards the afternoon, that is when we'll be having most of those rains coming through. Now also the green colors right there indicated across parts of Mbale, that is Mount Elgon Highlands. That is where we expect more rains across the country for today. That is also crossing over towards eastern Uganda, which could be good news actually, because much of eastern Uganda has been having dry weather for the last couple of days. But today we see a pickup in wet weather activities also towards Lake Choga. That means Lira also you could be receiving more rains for today, and of course that will also help to take away the heat that has been over the area, considering that we've also been having mostly sunny weather over there. Well, that is what we've had for you for this morning's weather, and of course what you can expect for the rest of the day. Now after this we'll be going into Good Morning Uganda agenda with more topical discussions, after which we'll also be taking you through sports highlights, and of course later than that we'll also get you into Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. I want to wish you a wonderful day.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here, in the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking, to the taste of food that takes you on a journey, in the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth, in the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the Pearl of Africa.
Pick of the day on UBC.
You can only become a leader when there are problems.
Behind the headlines.
So what are we federating? whether rats from another country can be, I mean, somebody must be there to hold everybody accountable.
Every Wednesday at 10 p.m.
First of all, we as elites of Uganda, we have made Museveni the issue. I can tell Museveni is not the problem of Uganda. The problems of Uganda are much deeper. We can change the next 20 presidents and we'll still be this roundabout.
Was brought to you by
Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard. That's super easy.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
A logical, deeper conversation.
How many teachers in Uganda did you consult? But there's a mistake we are making.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Which is good. We went to this school, we ran it to Western, we ran it to Northern, we ran, then you come.
Isn't that an achievement?
Objective and non-partisan.
Honorable Minister, there were a number of points. I want to start with you.
Straight from the hearts of open-minded men and women.
Money tends to move faster at night. So when people are not counting,
don't take it for granted.
Candid and authentic.
Because Uganda is not Thailand.
That's not correct, and we should stop that kind of mentality. So what I'm saying
that's
is
a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Tell him you speak low.
I think that's where we are beginning to have a problem.
I think what is going to kill the parish model are all the misconceptions on how it's supposed to run.
I know that the Prime Minister is listening.
Behind the headlines.
Charles, let us agree. We liberalized the economy.
We are several nations put it together.
Why don't you appreciate that?
What if it fails?
I'm happy
and
to
he's
answer.
a good lawyer because Amin is not in power.
The parish development committee is functional. It is there. That there is a parish chief, that the beneficiary is doing.
So we look at expenditure. We don't look at revenue. And that is the challenge we are giving them from Minister of Finance.
Your fountain of new knowledge, flowing into the mass body of knowledge.
First get the knowledge of Bukedia, how they want to be modernized.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
You return money to the treasury, which is meant for the people.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
That's right. The Voice is coming to a city near you. From the 21st of October to the 10th of November, you get a chance to showcase your talent. Prepare a 1-minute MP4 video of yourself singing and upload it to thevoice.africa to register. Make sure you have a valid Airtel number, and if you're shortlisted, you will be contacted to come in for the live auditions.
Well, don't just stand there, let's go!
Music your passion. Africa your stage. The Voice Africa. Connected by Airtel.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
A lovely morning, and thank you for being with us till this time from the hour of 6:30. I'm Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono. In case you've just joined, this is Good Morning Uganda. Now it is your morning show from the hour of 6:30. We are here every weekday, and our sole purpose is to give you all the relevant information that you need as you kickstart or go about business during the day, so that you fit in any reasonable, meaningful topic of discussion wherever it is held, because you're informed, but also spice up your morning with some few light moments here and there. Now, in this particular segment, which is Good Morning Uganda Agenda, we have a guest in studios, and we usually have feedback from you by simply going to our socials. Our WhatsApp number will be on the screen shortly, and there you can also use the same number to send us an SMS text. And the guest that I have in studios will be responding to that. That is a little bit later. But now, I have a very interesting topic this morning, and that is child registration. For a long time, we've heard about child registration. Recently, starting June, we had schools telling parents that, well, there's going to be child registration and we need some of your documents. Some were asked for IDs, others for some schools, maybe teachers came home, those that have infants, that is pre-primary, I talk about now nursery school. They would come maybe or tell their parents, come over. So registration. This is meant to be free of charge, by the way. However, some schools asked for 5,000, some asked for 10,000, others never asked. Some went as far as 50,000. And dear parent, if you fell victim of this scam, please provide us with that information. You can even just get a photocopy, a picture of that circular that required you to pay and send on our WhatsApp number, because this is an illegality. And NIRA is not taking this very lightly. They want to take action of schools that extorted parents of a free service. Now, joining me on set this morning is the Manager Registration and Operations National Identification Authority, that is NIRA, and he is Edwin Tukamuhebwa, with whom we are going to be discussing more regarding this. Edwin, you're most welcome to our studios.
Thank you, Mr. Kirabo.
Well, to begin with, for the good of our viewer to better understand, when you talk about the ongoing exercise, child registration, what is this? Because, you know, sometimes parents, school ask things, and you just have to go ahead, no matter how much knowledge you have about it, but they have told you, you are going to register children. We need the NIN for the, we need the NIN or the national ID for the father. We need that of the mother. There's an exercise going on, and the parent says, "Basabye kusomero batusabye." They asked, and that is all they go on.
Thank you so much, Kirabo. Thank you for hosting me, and good morning, viewers. I'm very grateful that you actually invited me here to talk about child registration, and I want to dissect it into two. There is child registration, which we in our language we call birth registration. So when your child is born, you are supposed to register that birth. So I don't want that to be mixed with what we are actually going to discuss now. If I got you well, what we are discussing is actually learner registration. We are registering children who are in schools, if I got you well.
Yes.
And first and foremost, this activity started in 2017. We had a learner registration project in 2017 where we registered learners that were in school. However, we did not complete. There are those who missed out because of various reasons. They were absent, they never appeared, their applications were not successful. Some, because of the timelines that we had, we didn't actually complete each, we didn't capture each and every one. Then, since 2017 to date, there are those that have been joining school, P1, P2, P3, P4. Actually, those ones were not in school by 2017. So what we are doing right now is to register them for identification purposes. Now, those learners who are below 16 years of age are given NINs. Those who are above 16 years of age are given IDs. a NIN and an ID, because the NIN appears on the ID. Now, why we are registering them is for purposes of identifying who these learners are. We are doing this in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, because they are the biggest beneficiaries of this information. They need to know the learners that are in the school system. So that's what we are doing. But for this period we started actually going massive from June this year. And we are going to run this activity as long as we still have children in schools who are not registered. Yeah, but right now we are focusing on senior ones and senior twos. Reason being, Ministry of Education has a continuous assessment curriculum that they are introducing in schools. So for someone to be assessed continuously, they need to be identified. And the singular identifier is a NIN, because no one else can have the same NIN with you.
Definitely, that is the national identification number.
Exactly. So when Mr. Kirabo moves from this school to another school, the system by Ministry of Education will continue tracking his progress. So basically that is the purpose. So our being in schools is majorly, we are mandated by the law to identify people, but also we are there to support the Ministry of Education to achieve the objective of identifying learners in their schools.
Now, Edwin, that will explain learner registration. You've said you're focusing on senior 1 and senior 2, but as low as pre-primary, we are seeing registration happening.
Yeah, like what I've said, we are mandated by the law to register everybody.
Every learner that is in school now.
Yes. Now, the dilemma that we have is that when you reach a school, you're going to register senior 1 and senior 2, and at times you find a neighboring school, a primary school or a pre-primary school. First and foremost, you've spent resources to go to that nearby school. Then you find another school there. You cannot leave those people and go when your mandate is to register everybody. So we also use that opportunity that if we have found people here who are not registered, we will register them. Even if we find a teacher or a non-teaching staff in that school who is not registered, still we will register them. And actually the registration that we are doing has so many components. One, you registered and your registration was successful and you have a NIN, but you don't know your NIN. So we ensure that we give you that NIN so that you do not ask again. You need to know your NIN, so we give it to you. Two, there are those whose applications were not successful. Reason being, maybe we doubted their citizenship. They did not provide enough documentation to prove citizenship. So when we reach, we tell them, your application has this and this issue, bring us A, B, C, D. But normally we do that prior to the actual activity of biometric registration, so that by the time we come, everybody is prepared. So another thing that we do, there are those, because they were children at that time, whom we gave NINs. They were successful, but now they have gone past the age of 16. So those ones qualify to get an ID. In 2017 they were below 16. Now they are above 16 years of age, so they qualify to get IDs. So what we do, we just update their information. We take their image, capture the latest biometrics, and we produce the IDs and give to them. There are even others whom you find that their data needs to be corrected, if I may use that term. In our term, we call it rectification. Maybe the image was not properly taken, so we retake the image. So basically, it is an all-round registration.
Very interesting. Well, our viewers, like I told you earlier, you'll be using the number on your screen, which is 0709 60 25 92. That's the number, 0709 60 25 92. And you send us an SMS message or a WhatsApp message on that number. And I'll be reading it out as we look at learner registration. We are looking at the exercise that is ongoing to ensure that all learners in this country are registered. Now, let's look at how this is being done. You said you're going to schools, but what are the requirements? We've had parents being told, Bruce, take a picture of your national ID, send it to us, if possible, bring your national ID. Then some are saying, I'm a parent, I don't have a national ID. The father doesn't have, the mother doesn't have, but we need to register this child. But these are realities.
Yeah, that's true.
So now what is the way forward? You find a young one crying, I've missed out on registration. I may not sit my exam because my parents don't have a national ID. So how are these dilemmas? How are you handling, and what are the requirements?
The requirements are actually photocopies of national IDs of parents. That's what we need.
This thing is becoming a problem now.
And
people didn't take it that serious.
Why we need photocopies of parents' IDs photocopies of parents' IDs is for us to be able to prove that this child we are registering is Ugandan. And you can only be Ugandan if your parents are Ugandans. That is, if your citizenship is by descent. That is basically that. Photocopies of parents' IDs. But I also know that there are situations where the parents do not have IDs. So in that circumstance, we take one photocopy of the parents' ID for those who have. But there may also be instances where both parents do not have IDs.
Yes.
That is one, they are there, but they do not have IDs. Or they may not be there. So in that circumstance, we take a photocopy of a blood relative of the child. It may be an uncle, an auntie, a grandfather, a grandmother, or a sister or a brother, but who is related to that child by blood. Why we do that is to ensure that this person whom we are registering is a citizen. And if my brother is a citizen, then definitely I'm a citizen.
Now, what is proof that this is a brother to this one? For example, I could have a friend's child and the parents don't have an ID. I'll give you an example. There are many people have come to understand that have SIM cards registered. They are their SIM cards. But because they don't have national ID, so I allow my SIM card, I allow my ID for someone to get a SIM card using my ID.
Now, I would advise Ugandans or anyone who is actually viewing us right now not to make that mistake. Because first and foremost, it is criminal. You will have uttered false information. And you will actually have caused problems to this child. Because we are capturing this child's data into the National Identification Register. And the child is going to live with this information all through his or her life.
That father, Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono.
Exactly.
Of Dickens Rakukundo.
Exactly. Now,
who may not even be a Ugandan.
Exactly. Once that mistake is made, it is extremely very hard for us to change that from this so-called father who was given to us to another one. Now that one actually, in our technical term, we call it contested parentage. which you must prove by a DNA. So how many Ugandans out there have the capacity to go and have their DNA taken? So that is one. Two, I said it is actually criminal. Once we learn of that, you are arrested and the course of the law takes its course. Three, in an event that you make that mistake and you declare that this person is my child, there are other problems actually you yourself invite to yourself. What if you passed on and this child comes and claims your property? Where will the rest of the beneficiaries run to?
Because he has evidence during child learner registration.
Exactly.
This was my father.
Yes.
He confirmed that he's my father.
And gave me a photocopy of the national ID. I brought it for registration.
They check NIRA records.
And it is there.
So he says, well, you may doubt, but hey, I need a percentage.
This is what the national database says. So, Ugandans out there, please take the issue of identification registration very, very, very seriously. Give the most accurate information. Where you are not very sure, please ask. You can ask our registrars, you can ask any other person near you who may be having more information or who may be in a position to clarify. But do not give wrong information, please. Do not. Because once this information comes to the identification register, the process of correcting that information is very, very, very tedious and even more costly. Very, very costly. And it creates even much more problems. The information that we have is information that we share with all ministries and departments and agencies of government. So you will say, Kastabian Nira. There is that tendency that Ugandans have. Kastabian Nira. You give us the information, you will go to process a passport, and this information does not correspond with what you have submitted to the passport.
You want a passport, you go for that interview, you asked who is your father.
Exactly.
Then you mention other names.
You mention other names.
And then the father you have in records. So they will tell you, and that is where you feel, so they will tell you, you don't qualify.
National Social Security. You will go there to claim your mid-term benefits. And the information does not tally. Driving permit. Maybe you want to go for a job outside Uganda, and you get denied a visa because your information does not tally at all.
Now, Edwin, among the things you've mentioned, I've not heard of money. Any amount of money needed. You simply said photocopies of parents' national ID or relatives in case the parents are not there. So is this a free of charge exercise?
Yes. Registration for national identification is free of charge. We do not charge any single money on registration, specifically registration of runners in schools, and even a registration of any other person, as long as, and I want to be very clear on this, as long as if it is the first time registration. First time registration. But they are what we call secondary registration. You are already registered. You have a national ID and you have lost it. So you come to replace your ID. That one is not a registration, it is a replacement. So that one is charged 50,000. It may also apply to the runners that we are talking about, because some of them are above 16 and you'll find that maybe some of them have lost their IDs. So a replacement of an ID is 50,000 shillings, and it is paid in the bank. So for us, what we require of an applicant of a replacement is a confirmation, a receipt that you have paid in the bank. So as NIRA, we do not receive any money in our hands. We only need receipts to confirm. But I want again to re-emphasize it. First time registration, or the registration that is actually happening is in schools, is free of charge. NIRA does not charge any money for registration of
Neither
children.
should schools be crafty and charge.
Neither should schools charge children or their parents purporting that that money is for NIRA. No.
Well, now parents, I think you've heard that loud and clear. So are school head mistresses, school head teachers, preparators. Stop extorting money from people, saying that mutuwe yetano waliyo mutwaro for registration. That is an illegality, and parents, let's stand for our rights. Let's stand for our rights. This way of tapping into anything for financial benefits is very, very wrong. And I think schools as institutions that build moral fabric, this illegality should not continue anywhere. Now let's try to look at some of the questions. I think they're coming in really very many. And let's now hear from the people that are watching the show. Kindly not call on this number. Do us a favor. This is the number for SMSs or WhatsApp. Yes, please do not call. You're interrupting my reading of messages. Just send us a text message, a WhatsApp message, and I'll make sure I read it out. Now let's begin. Also kindly give us your name. Good morning to UBC family. My question to Mr. Edwin is, I registered for an ID at school, but my ID did not come. I just got a voter location slip with a NIN, but instead of CM, there is a tap at the start of the NIN number. What does TMP mean on a NIN number, and what can I do to get my ID?
Thank you so much to that person who has actually asked that question. If you registered in school, that TMP actually is not a NIN number. It isn't. But it means that you registered, but your registration was not complete. So please go to any nearby NIRA office. If you registered in 2017, there are possibilities that that person is now above 16 years. And by the fact that he can type and send a message, higher chances are that he's above 16 years of age. Go with your parents' national IDs, photocopies of your parents' national IDs. If they are not available, at least get one. At least one of them should give you a photocopy of the national ID. If in an event that they are not available, get a photocopy of a national ID of a blood relative, and please indicate that this one is my paternal auntie or paternal or maternal auntie or sister or a brother. And also go with an LC letter. Where you are residing, the LC should write for you a letter confirming that this is Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so. And we are particular on the content that we need in the letter of the LC. It should have your names of your parents, whether they are alive or deceased. Let their names be there. I am a son to Mr. So-and-so and Mrs. So-and-so. If they are deceased, it should indicate I'm a son or a daughter of the late Mr. So-and-so and late so-and-so. And then your tribe and clan. And the LC should sign, stamp, and then you take that letter to the GISO or a DISO, whoever is in your reach. Let them verify and endorse on that document. So you bring that letter, you also bring photocopies of parents' IDs. And then it will be corrected. Actually, that one is very simple. It takes very, very few days for an ID to get out, if that is the issue.
Okay. Still moving on, we have good morning, UBC. I'm James. NIDA does not accept their weaknesses. Why? And it has made passport office also to be slow. A brief one on that, because the messages are really so many. You don't accept your mistakes, and you're making the passport office also slow.
First and foremost, that person has not indicated which mistakes. But I wouldn't say that we have made passport office very slow. Instead, actually, we have made life easier for Ugandans and even those who are applying for passports. Because what used to be done by passport control office, we do it. Remember those days whenever you would go to apply for a passport, you would take the form to your LC, LC1, LC2, LC3, then you take it to the RDC. So that process we have shortened it by the NIN, because what they require is a NIN. The issue that I have actually realized is that those who apply for passports, or those who apply for ID, give inconsistent information. If your ID has your names as Tukamheva Edwin, then you apply to passport control office and you indicate Kirabo Edwin, definitely they will query that. So, for you not to get issues, provide consistent, correct information. It is as simple as that.
My child got registered while in senior 3 at school. Where can she or he access the ID from? At her former school or at his home district? Alex from Kiruhura.
Alex, thank you so much. First and foremost, if your child was in senior 2, if by that time he was 16 years of age, his ID is at our district office. If he registered from Churuhura, we have an office in Churuhura. If it is in another district, we have an office in that district. That's where the ID is. If that person was 16 years of age, if he was below 16 years of age by that time, it means he doesn't have an ID. Let him go to any nearest office. They update his information by taking his picture and current biometrics, and then we'll process the ID.
Good morning, I am Tom from Palisa. How about a situation where the primary head teacher asks each learner to pay 2,000 shillings for the registration?
As we have already spoken about it, registration for national identification, whether you are going to get a NIN or whether you are going to get an ID, is free of charge. If that happens, please report to the authorities. Report to police. You have the LCs, you have the GSOs. Please report that person to the authorities.
Okay, still moving on. Thank you for the messages. An equal message comes in. Good morning, presenter. Here in Kamwenge district, all schools were charging 5,000 per a child. Please, if you can, send us photocopies or just take a picture of that, and we'll see how best that can be addressed, because this is a free exercise. No school should be charging any amount of money. Actually, the majority of the messages I'm getting here are about schools and what they were charging. But I need evidence to this, not me as say. You can get me a picture of that circular if you still have it, and then send it on our WhatsApp page. So this will help us carry better and see how this can better be handled.
Mr. Kirabo, schools also have governing committees. They have PTA, Parents Teachers Association. They have school management committees. People can voice their concerns even through those committees where they cannot access police or LCs. They can voice their concerns there.
Well, for now, kindly please, let's stop the messages for now, because there are really many, and don't send. Let's first see how we can deal with those that we have so far that are coming in from our viewers. Really appreciate your feedback. Thank you so much, but hold them for now. Now, still moving on, someone asks, thanks for the show. Please let Edwin tell us the process of acquiring a birth certificate, especially for babies here in Weyogerere. Talk about that.
I am actually very, very happy because someone has asked that question. You know, when a child is being registered, I really feel happy and grateful because we are getting the most authentic information. Normally, from our experiences as registrars, people do not make mistakes when they are registering their children. Now, for the purpose of requirements of registration of a birth or acquiring a birth certificate, you need, if your child was born from a health facility, you need what we call a birth notification record. It is a small document to show that your child was born in this hospital. And that document has the names of a child, and the date of birth and the parents. That is one. Two, we need photocopies of national IDs of both parents if they are there. But even one can suffice. And payment, a receipt of payment of 5,000 shillings. Tano. A birth certificate costs only 5,000 shillings. I need to emphasize it because I've seen people who come to our offices crying, then they even go and even give them fake documents. A birth certificate is only 5,000 shillings. So those are the requirements. Photocopies of national IDs of parents, a birth notification record, if a child was born from a health facility, and payment, confirmation of payment of 5,000 shillings. But if a child was born from home, because many of our children are born from home, or from anywhere outside the health facility, go to the nearest, go to the sub-county. Now, Bweyogerere is a division. Go to the division offices. They will also give you that birth notification record. And you bring that and the rest of the document as I have elaborated.
Well, this we've handled, but I may just read it out. Thanks for the explanation. But what if a child is living with a guardian, yet the request is for an ID photocopy? I think that Edwin has handled very well. Good morning, UBC. How long will it take ID to be processed? I think from the time the person registers, what time frame should a person take to get their ID?
It depends, but we normally give it 3 months. That is for a fresh registration. If it is a replacement, if you are changing particulars, it is a little easier. We normally give it 1 month. But also, the length of time may actually vary depending on the activities that are being conducted. You may even get your national ID in 3 days. But right now we are in the middle of an exercise, a country-wide exercise. So meaning that the volume of data coming in is a lot. So at times it may slightly go beyond 3 months. It may even be a little less than 3 months because we handle data on first come, first serve basis. That's how our data structure is designed.
Still on issues of registration, thanks for the program. My question is, what is the difference between citizen born by birth and one born by descent? I remember during the registration for national IDs, there were no registration by descent on the registration form. Mutakuwa Sulaiman from Bale.
Citizenship in Uganda I want to be very specific. In Uganda, if you hear of citizenship by birth of a Ugandan or citizenship by descent, it means the same thing. And I want to clarify it because I've met people who have challenged me, not challenging, but who normally argue that citizenship by birth, if someone has been born in Uganda, that is citizenship by birth. That is not citizenship by birth in Uganda. That by birth, that term, actually works for other countries, especially like the US. I'll give you an example of the US. Once you live here, you go to the US and your wife gives birth from the US. They will give that child citizenship, and that is citizenship by birth. But our constitution does not say so. It doesn't offer citizenship because someone has been born in Uganda. So that word by birth, by descent, in the Uganda's context means the same thing. And it, to be very clear, it means citizenship by descent. That your father or your mother or your grandparents were Ugandans. So I want to repeat that if a foreigner gives birth from Uganda, it does not, that situation does not confer citizenship on the child that has been born in Uganda. No.
Very interesting facts here that you need to know regarding the national. Then we have one here. Thanks, Mr. Edwin, for the presentation. I have a brother who registered with his date of birth added 2 years, though his registration status was rejected, not for providing sufficient evidence. Should he proceed with the wrong details or correct the details when proving the required evidence?
There are two issues in that question. One is wrong date of birth, and two is now that person has an opportunity to come and we correct the date of birth. However, that person must now give us proof of the correct date of birth because we want to be very sure. The other time you said that your date of birth was this. Now your date of birth is this. So we need documentation to show that the date of birth you are giving us this time is the correct one. And normally we ask for a birth certificate if it is available, birth notification record if it is available, or certified academic documents, past slips of P7, Senior 4, Senior 6, and even transcripts of universities. At times they have the dates of birth or any other accepted document where that date of birth is written. That's one. Two, you have indicated that the application was rejected. Normally, we reject applications because of failure to prove citizenship. In simple terms, because you did not provide photocopies of your parents' IDs or your relatives' IDs.
Or even their IDs could be questioned. I remember
yes.
I was watching on some documents for some person.
Yes.
And I was very clear. I said, yes, you've presented photocopies of parents, but looking at their names and all that, then this doesn't work out. Now you have to go to citizen and migration, which was another task. So I think people should know that providing photocopies of parents is not a must that because you have them. You could have gotten our national IDs, and this is something even that I want to also throw more light. Are there possibilities that non-Ugandans could be having national IDs?
I would say, you see, an identification ecosystem starts with birth registration.
Okay.
Globally. However, for Uganda's case, we started registration for IDs in 2014. In fact, actually, registration of a national ID is stage number 2. Now, for us as a country, we started at stage number 2. And we had a specific national issue or concern that we needed to address, which was voter identification. Remember, we started the registration in 2014 for purposes of identifying voters who were going to vote in 2016. Therefore, we jumped stage number 1, which is birth registration.
Which is the most reliable?
Which is the most reliable, most credible, and most important. Now, at that time, if you remember, we did not ask you for any identification. We didn't. Because it was not there. There was no national identification. So at that point, we relied on the LOCs who were present at that time. The LOC saying, this is a Ugandan. You register him, this is Ugandan. That is the information we relied on, because that is at least what was available. So there are possibilities that a few individuals, especially from the border communities, may have sipped through. However, I want to assure Ugandans, we have a robust system of tracing for those people. You have actually said it yourself that at times someone registers, gives us a photocopy of the national ID of the parent, and we question it. We go through our system, it is our daily bread, every day, to keep reviewing the documents that were submitted. And when we find where an ID was issued, someone holds it, and the information around it is questionable, we call it stop listing. We stop list it. Now, when you go with your ID anywhere, they will bounce you. They will tell you your ID is fake. Your ID does not work.
Yes, for you, sure. I got it through NIDA.
Yes, then you come back, and then your ID can work again. Yes, because very many Ugandans have actually gone to the border. They have gone through our borders, Katuna, Chanika, Maraba, and even at the airport. You reach there and your ID is confiscated. It is because there are issues of citizenship to be answered. So we have that. We have that system in place, and we also collaborate with our sister agencies, with immigration, with the ISO, with the even other security agencies like CMI, Uganda Police. We work with them all the time. So once in a while, you may find a police officer telling you that bring this ID here. It has an issue.
It has an issue. Well, there's so much that we can discuss, so many messages. But time is not so much on our side. Let me have your final remarks, Edwin, regarding that is learner registration.
Yes, sir. My final remarks on learner registration, I want to emphasize to Ugandans. One, ensure that your children are registered. This is the biggest opportunity. When you register a child when the child is still young, you have ironed out a lot of inconveniences that child would go through. Because that child will get an in, he will easily access services everywhere without being inconvenienced. Two, ensure that you give us the most accurate information. Where it's not clear, please ask. Ask our registrars, ask any other person who may clarify an issue better than you. We are actually not doing this learner registration in schools only. Our offices are open throughout the country. So those who can conveniently access our offices, take your children there, we will register them.
Well, I want to thank you so much. That is Edwin Muhaibwa. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, he is the manager, that is our registration and operation. Thanks for your time. And of course, for our viewers, really appreciate so many messages, a few that have been able to read, others were a bit similar on the same issue, so we had to leave them. But thank you so much. I appreciate the feedback. And we really hope that we've gotten the facts right. And to the schools, please, this is a free exercise. Do not charge parents. See you in the next hour. God bless you. I return shortly.
Thank you.